For today's video, we have a set of powered speakers, and here I'm going to show you a quick pro tip. Open the box on the bottom and just lift it up and let gravity do the rest. We'll show these off here in just a minute. These are Bluetooth bookshelf speakers I got off of Amazon. At the time of purchase, they were $99. Right now, they got a $20 off, so it just depends on when you purchase them. I'll leave a link in the video description if you want to check them out. Accessories include this AC to DC adapter, 18 volt, 2 amps. We also have an optical digital cable. We have a 3.5 millimeter to RCA cable, as well as some speaker cable to connect from the powered speaker to the unpowered one, and a wireless remote control, and a really nice user manual. This thing unfolds like an old school map you used to keep in your car and has a whole lot of good information on it. Here are the speakers themselves. You can see they have these protective mesh grills on the front that you can pull off, and look at the design. Really like it. The two-way design with the port, and the brand here is SaiYin. We'll talk about that later. Here you can see it. Again, these look really nice. I like the look of them. And the specs, as far as what the manufacturer says, 30 watts by 2, 80 dB signal to noise ratio, 45 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Bluetooth, analog, digital, subwoofer output, and a wireless remote control. So there's a lot of features here for the price point. It includes a 0.75 inch soft dome tweeter, a 1.5 inch port, and a 4-inch mid-woofer. If we turn the speakers around, you'll notice one of them just has connections for the speaker. The other one has the power terminal on there. We'll show that here in a minute. The left one is the one that's kind of unpowered. The right one is the one that has all the electronics on the back. And speaking of electronics, here's the goodies. Has an auxiliary input 3.5 millimeter. Also has an auxiliary for RCA jacks, coaxial digital, optical digital, subwoofer line output, DC power input, as well as that second speaker output. Now these are very lightweight. They feel very cheesy on the outside, which is unfortunate. Dimensions 12.25 inches high, 6.5 inches wide by 7.25 inches deep. Both speakers use these spring-loaded terminals. These have been used for many, many years. They just don't accept very large wire. And also the wireless remote control, which is very important that you keep this and not lose it, because all the functions that you have to do here are from the remote. It also takes AAA to AAA batteries. I'll leave some links in the video description for the Amazon rechargeable. These are the batteries that I use and they work well. And then here we're going to show all the accessories that come with these powered bookshelf speakers. So you get a wide range of accessories that you may need for hooking up various sources. The only one you don't get is the coaxial digital or the subwoofer line output. You'll have to supply that yourself. So what you do here is use the speaker cables to hook up the powered speaker to the unpowered speaker, and then at that point you pretty much have it set up. So let's try it out. Again, there's no way to turn on this speaker system without the wireless remote. There's no switch or knob or anything on the speaker itself, so make sure you hold on to the remote control. Once we turn it on and hit Bluetooth on the remote, we're looking for SaiYin Audio DS6X, and it connects pretty much immediately. Here I'm going to show it on the phone what it shows up as. SaiYin Audio is the parent brand to this company. So let's try out a song. Try some YouTube now to see if I can tell the difference between those settings on the remote. I couldn't tell it with just music. Maybe with vocals we can. Who's this guy? I've seen his videos before. They're pretty good.
You big dummy.
The JBL Crown A6000 GTI from 2004, the world's most powerful amplifier back then. Yes, this amp is still impressive today. So I can't really tell the difference in the settings here, movie, music, or news. Maybe the news has just a little bit more treble, but it's very little difference between the modes. So I'm going to come back later in the video to show some more of the speaker playing back along with the subwoofer connected. But for now, I'll take off the back here, the speaker panel as well as the amplifier plate panel, so we can hook this up to the amp dyno and find out how much power it does. So we have this little amplifier on the back of this power bookshelf speaker hooked up. I had to jimmy rig it a little bit. We have 16 gauge wire twisted into this what appears to be either 18 or 20 gauge. And here's the other connector here that's on the actual circuit board. There's another connector behind it that goes to the tweeter. And I thought maybe this was biamp, but those are just paralleled together. So we have these going hooked up to the dyno. So we're going to test out the amp now and see what the amp inside this does. The ratings say 30 by 2, but the power supply is 18 volts, 2 amps. So it's only a 36 watt power supply. So let's find out what kind of power it puts out, and maybe the power supply is underrated, who knows. Now let's fire up the good old SMD, Demore Engineering Amplifier Dyno, to do our RMS power output testing this amplifier. Before we do that, make sure you check the video description for links to Wilson Audio merch. Smash me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this content. More like it coming all the time. Now let's talk about the dyno tests. There's 3 different tests: certified, uncertified, and dynamic. Certified test takes us up to 1% THD, uncertified takes us up to the clipping point, and dynamic is a dynamic tone mimicking IHF 202 standard. Alright, first up, let's try the 8 ohm test. We're not sure how this amp is rated 30 by 2 at 8 ohms or 4 ohms. We're going to try 8 ohms first. Here you can see 15 watts per channel certified to 1% THD. Just remember the voltage you see on the right side, that is the amp dyno is plugged into my battery bank, so you can just ignore that. It has nothing to do with this. Up to clipping, we got 18 watts and 17 watts. Now for the dynamic test, it sends a pulse tone into the amp. 1 kilohertz is the tone we're using. And again, 18 and 17 watts per channel, respectively. Now let's try 4 ohms. Now maybe this is the one where it's rated 30 watts by 2. Certified test first. And wow, look at that, 29 and 27 watts. Now, those of you who paid attention earlier are going to have a question. We'll get to that here in a minute. Uncertified, 29 watts per channel, so right at that 30 watt per channel rating. Dynamic, sending the pulse tone into the amp. Don't quite get that 30 watts, but we're still very close, within a watt or two of that 30 watt per channel rating. Now, for those who didn't pay attention, let's find out what's going on here. How is this amplifier putting out more power than the input? The big dummy math says 18 volts at 2 amps is a 36 watt power supply. However, we got 58 watts on the uncertified test at 4 ohms.
We have sort of a problem here.
So according to Big Dummy Engineering, either the voltage is incorrect, the amperage is incorrect, or the dyno is incorrect. Let's also verify the voltage of this power supply. So as most of these are, the outside is negative, the inside is positive. There you can see 18.32 DC volts is what this power supply is outputting. So we just verified the voltage. We can mark that out. What about the amperage? Let's test it out. So I'm very intrigued how I'm getting so much power from this 18 volt 2 amp power supply. So I have carefully cut the wires on the power supply. This is a DC power supply, so it's outputting 18 volts at, it says 2 amps or 2000 milliamps. So you can see I've got the positive side clamped here, and we're going to test it out. See, the idle current is around 0.1. That's just with the amp on and just sitting there. But we're going to check it out now and see what's going on here, because this is not possible otherwise. All right, friends, let's check this power supply out to see what's going on with this 2 amp output that it says. Got it clamped. There you go. 4.3 amps of output from the power supply and 28 and 29 watts certified at 4 ohms. So this is the first time I've really seen an underrated power supply from China. for the win. Wow, I'm blown away. So I found this really interesting, that the amperage on this cheap Chinese power supply was actually wrong, but in a good way. The good part about it is I did get to measure the efficiency, which you can see 73.7% at 4 ohms. Now let's take the speaker apart and see about the internals. First off, we'll take out the 4-inch mid-woofer, and you can notice right off the bat it's got a really nice size magnet on the back, really big for a 4-inch. And we'll test out the resistance, and we get 3.6 ohms, so right around that 4 ohm nominal impedance that it's rated. And here's the port, and then we're going to take out the 4 screws to get to the soft dome tweeter, which you can see here has a resistor and a capacitor on it. That's a 50 volt 4.7 microfarad capacitor, and again we checked the resistance in right at 4 ohms. Now the secondary speaker we measured 3.8 ohms, so I would consider this a 4 ohm nominal system, and apparently that's what the manufacturer was planning based on the amplifier chip. Here is the amplifier board, also the input board and the Bluetooth module and all that. Here's the digital to analog converter. It's the GC8418. Then we have the Bluetooth integrated circuit by JL, the AS21. The amplifier circuit is by Chipstar, the CS8673E, which if we do a Google search, get an AliExpress, you can buy 5 of these for $4. They're pretty cheap. You can get a whole 2.1 system for under $7. And here are the chip ratings based on the voltage, up to 55 watts per channel, according to the spec sheet. In my opinion, one of the huge selling points of this particular speaker system is the subwoofer output, allowing you to add a powered subwoofer to these powered bookshelf speakers. In this example, I'm using the Polk Audio PSW10. Check the link in the video description to my previous video on this subwoofer. Here you can see I have the powered bookshelf speakers. The one light here means that it's not powered on. Have the Polk Audio subwoofer hooked into the subwoofer out. And now we're just gonna fire it up. Hopefully it's not gonna be super loud. We did hear a power up thump and a little pleasant tone there. Let's hook up some music and see how it sounds. I want to see what happens when we turn it off with the subwoofer connect, see if we get a thump. Oh, we got a rather brutal thump, and it's kind of got some after thump. Let's turn it on again. Another thump. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's talk about the stuff I like. The big sound, for the 95% of people out there, you'll really like the sound of these speakers. I don't typically talk about sound quality, but I think they sounded fine. The amplifier chip met the rated power. They were relatively inexpensive. It did come with a wireless remote, had a subwoofer output. It includes most of the cables you need and has soft dome tweeters. Things that could be better. There are no controls on the speaker, which is kind of scary. The port is not attached well. It kind of fell out, had to stick it back in. The sound modes really didn't make a difference at all. The biggest deal here for me was the turn on and off thump for the subwoofer output. Honestly, these powered speakers having a subwoofer output kind of excited me, that you could get really big sound with these little speakers, but unfortunately, that is one thing that you just can't use this with a powered subwoofer because it's going to probably damage your subwoofer. So that's too bad. Overall, these are great speakers. If you use them without a subwoofer, I would recommend them. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stick around for more cool videos. Check links in the video description. Until next time, Big D, you know where I'm at. I'm out of here. Have no idea if it's rated for this load, but we're going to try it. Certified 1% THD at 1 kilohertz. It's just a little chip. All we can do is blow it up. All right, 26 and 24. All right, uncertified up to clipping. 27 and 26. All right, now just for fun, we're going to try 2.67 ohms for this, was it SaiYin? Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm not sure it can handle it. Let's try it. 2 ohms dynamic burst. Whoa. 37 and 36 watts. What is going on here?